Okay, so here's my old chain, and I counted these little side things, and there's 54 of them. So if these are the links, it should equal about 108 links. Um, so yeah, I just got the new one in, and it's about 64. So I needed to take out quite a few. So I sanded down the top of it, the one I wanted to remove. I counted up to uh, 54, and grabbed a center puncher, put a little half-inch socket under there, and a rock to support the rest of the chain, and just banged it out with a hammer. The pin will fall right into the half-inch, and then that should be it for removing the chain without the tool. So I don't think I'm gonna be able to record while I'm banging it out. Let me see if I can prop it up. And there you go, popped it right out. Here's the pin. There you go. Like I said, it'll go right into the socket, and that's it. You detach it that way, and to put it back on, you're gonna have to get a master link that just connects to itself, so you won't need the tool, and I'll show you when I'm putting it on. Okay, so this is what the chain is gonna look like after you pulled it apart, and this is the master link here. This is what I'm gonna be using to put it back on the bike, and this is where I grind it off and stuff. This piece I'm not gonna be using. That's how much longer the new chain was compared to my old chain. So yeah, these are the little O-rings. Those are gonna fall off once you pull the chain apart. You don't need those as long as you got the master link that has some on it. So I've cleaned the sprocket and I've cleaned everything else. I took off the nut for the sprocket to clean everything in there, and I have it on hand tight. This is the new chain here. Here's where the master link is gonna be going. So I'm gonna show you how to put that on, and we're gonna keep going basically. So what you want to do is you want to grab the master link. This actually comes lubricated, so you don't have to lubricate it yourself. Unless yours doesn't come lubricated, then I would recommend lubricating it. But since this one does come lubricated, I don't have to worry about that. It's kind of hard to do this with one hand, so bear with me here. Let's see. Hold on, let me put this on. Okay, so I've pushed it through. You see this little notches here? That's where this is gonna go into. But first, you need to use the O-rings. I'm gonna put one in here, one in here, and these are actually the old ones that I popped out. Well, they're not old, they're brand new still, but it doesn't matter which ones you use. Put this on it, push it in, a little bit hard, okay, and then final piece. Now you want this loop to go upwards, because if you snag something while it's this way, it might pop off on you. You don't want that. So you want to push that in, and then with a flathead you finish pushing it through. Okay, so that's what it's gonna look like. Make sure it's nice and flushed, or press it down with your fingers really tight while you're pushing down with the flathead, or else it won't really catch. But there you go, put on a new chain. Now all we gotta do is adjust it, and we'll be good. Now I'm pretty sure you guys know how to adjust the chain the same way you took it off. Spin these back on both sides and tighten the nut, and you're good to go. Just make sure that when you do it, the chain has enough slack and it's not too tight, because if it's too tight, you're gonna get noise. You're not gonna want that. Thanks. Don't forget about the screw. When we first started, I left it hand tight. So what I like to do is use a breaker bar. There's a bunch of different ways on how to do this online, but what I like to do is use the breaker bar on it after I install the chain. A lot of people will complain that it'll stretch out their chain. I don't think that's really true. I don't see you doing this by hand, messing it up, you know. So what you want to do is put it in there, then make sure you got your foot on the brake, on the back brake, and that'll give you enough leverage to actually tighten it up. And if you got a torque wrench, look up the specs. For mine, it's about 90 foot-pounds. There you go. And I don't have a torque wrench. It's kind of a lot harder to do without one, because you don't know when you're at 90. But I like to get it nice and tight to make sure that if I'm not there, it won't come off. Seems to be tight enough. Okay, there you go. Now the chain is on. Like I said, when you tighten it, make sure that this is nice and firm. Look at your specs. If you don't got a user manual, which a lot of us don't, what you want to use is a ruler. Put it up here. Make sure that the slack is about 1 inch. And you still want it to be able to hit the frame when you do this, but you don't want it to be too tight to where you can't move it up and down. Remember, when it's in gear, chain tightens up a lot more while you're spinning, especially if you're on the highway. So yeah, I'm gonna tighten it up and take it for a test drive. Put the cover back on, make sure it's tightened. I adjusted the chain already. As you can see, it still hits the frame. It's got about 1 inch of clearance, and spins pretty good. Should be all set. We'll chain there. Piece of the chain that we broke off. Start the bike. Haven't started it in about a week, so okay. Well, now pushing the clutch, put it in first. Then look at it spin. like that coming from the chain. Only do this if the bike is lifted from the back, and make sure that it's not touching, because if it's touching the floor, your bike is gonna go. So okay, I'll put it back in neutral. Tire stops. And that's it, guys. That's how you fix a chain without having the proper tool for it. If you don't want to spend the $80 on a tool, don't, and spend the $5 to $7 on the Master Link, and do what I did. Just sand it down, hit the pin out, and put a Master Link in it. Same to the other chain when you're taking it off. And that's about it. Thanks for watching.